So we get the idea that this parable is all about money. But truthfully, I think there's something more important here. I think it's about choices. About choices about how we live our lives. What we do and what we won't do. For money, among other things, but also for love, and sometimes for power. These are all things that are important in our lives. In the story, the man has something important. He has a position. And he doesn't handle it well. He's wasteful. He squanders his boss's money. And his boss fires him. He doesn't honor the gift he was given. He doesn't care for that gift. And I think maybe Jesus is using that to tell us something. What about this boss of ours who gives us everything? This boss called God. Do we honor what he gives us? Do we care for it well? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Good news is, our boss, this one we call God, will never fire you. You might be disappointed. He may say, well, if you're going to walk away from me, go ahead. See how that works out. But he'll always be there in the end. And that's the difference between a godly boss and a human boss. I also think from this story, and for all the other parables that Jesus has that deals with money, and there's a lot of them. Actually, Jesus talks more about money than anything else. I don't think he and God really deal well with the concept of money. It isn't the kind of thing they do. And for a good reason. Imagine that you're a god. And one day you get up and think, what am I going to do after breakfast? Let there be light. And a bazillion hydrogen atoms are pulled together into a ball. And then they're squoze until they finally react with each other. And there's a thermonuclear reaction that creates so much light that lights up a whole solar system for 1 million years. Yeah, that's a good job for today. Do you think he worries about making $10 on the geo? I don't think so. If a God can create a solar system, and all of us, and all the things on this planet, you think he's going to worry about buying a ham sandwich? Even a ham sandwich with cheese. And if he wants it grilled, well, he just made a sun. He can put it next to that. That's the thing. He and his son, more and more in his presence, tell us about a world where money isn't that important. Rich kid comes to Jesus and says, what do I got to do? And what does he tell him? Give everything away. I can't do that. Well, I don't know what to tell you. That's my advice. Jesus doesn't see money as being all that important in life. In all the things that he gives us in terms of commandments, what does God say? Closest he comes to is don't covet what your neighbor has. Don't make things, which is like money, important. So how did we get into this business of dealing with money? How did money get to be so important? Well, it became our standard for exchanging things. And when you ask Jesus, well, how else could I get a pair of shoes? Or a ham sandwich? Or as half of the kids ask me, my very own car. And Jesus says, well, if you've got two and he's got none, give one to him. Share. What? That can't work. Well, that's Jesus' advice again. Again, he's not a money kind of guy. He's not an earnings kind of guy. The problem is, though, over the ages, Money has become our standard, not God's. Money has become what we use to determine things like success, safety, comfort in our homes. Money is important. Yeah, I'd like for my neighbor to give me what I need, but I also better have a bank account in case he doesn't. That's the way it comes out. I'll trust in God for some things, but I want a 401k just in case I get to that point where I need something to live on when I don't have a job. And so we ask ourselves, God, how do we balance this out? And just like all the other messes we managed to get ourselves into, God says, all right, this is what you've chosen. Here's how to handle it wisely. In our lesson, Jesus talks about don't cheat, don't steal, don't squander. Be honest with your neighbor. In short, he goes right back to the very beginning rules that he's always used for his people. Love God, love your neighbor. If you really love your neighbor, are you going to cheat him out of $1 or more? Imagine in this world of ours, and I'm going to say imagine, but it doesn't take a lot to imagine it. Someone who tells you, you're my buddy, you're my friend. We've been through a lot. And I'm sorry I have to foreclose on your house, but this is business and it's nothing personal. Yeah, this is business. Does that come into the fact of love your neighbor? Or maybe it's just we didn't quite love our neighbor enough. Or love stops where money enters into the equation. And so Jesus gives us this idea. Deal fairly with one another. Comes under that don't cheat. Use your money for more than just yourself. Prioritize. What's really important to you? Yeah, I got some money in my pocket. But like I told the kids, I don't think I can buy myself a mom. I don't think I can buy myself into a healthy lifestyle if I don't have one. There's so many important things I can't buy someone to love. Or if I do, guess what happens when the money runs out? See you, sailor. And off they go. It's just pretty much the way God intended things to be. The really important things do not come down to money. We use it every day to sustain ourselves, to keep going, to give us a place to live, to give us food. But in the end, the truly great things, the love of others, health, largely depends upon God. The comfort that you get when you suffer or when you grieve, you can't buy that. You can't buy relief for that. Someone who cares about you, someone who has God's love in his heart, has to give it to you. I'm sorry you're hurting. I'll be there with you. I'll pray for you in your sickness. I'll pray that God will comfort you at the loss of your friend or loved ones. Yeah, thank you. And I don't think I can pay you anything for any of that. That's what this story seems to be mostly about. Jesus says, we live in a world where people, like this account manager, is really good, in fact he uses the word shrewd, at dealing with money. And in the story, just like in our lives, the really shrewd people somehow come out ahead, and the less shrewd people end up losing something. Sometimes we're cheated. Sometimes we didn't read the bottom line, the little print. Sometimes the deal just went around so fast we didn't even see the money leave the table. And then compare that and contrast it to what God gives you. His love never leaves the table. The people he puts in your lives are always there for you, or at least you pray they will be. The true friends, the true loved ones are always there. And so this lesson teaches us one other thing that's even more important. It tells us to prioritize, to look at life and say, what's really important to me? Well, if I'm going to live in this world where everything seems to be judged by money, I guess I'm going to have some. That has importance. But if I live in this world and all I have is money, I'm missing a heck of a lot. Because I'd like to have someone that loves me. I'd like to have friends that care about me. I'd like to have a church with a congregation around me that will be there when I need them. And I have to put all of these into a list and say, how does that count up? How does that balance out against my 401k and my bank account? I need both. But what is truly, truly important in this life? In fact, this week, what I would like you to do, here's your homework assignment again, is to ask yourself, what is truly important to me? Is it my retirement fund? Is it this condo in Florida that I'd love to buy someday? Is it a new car? Is it the best meal you ever ate? Or maybe is it someone that God gave to be with you, to love and care for you? An extension of God himself. God is there for you. And all too often, he sublets that job to someone that he puts close to you. And if you, in this sitting back and thinking, come to the conclusion, people are important to me. God's love is important to me. God's love given to me through a third party, maybe a husband or wife or a best friend or whatever, is important to me. Then I'd like you to ask God, how do I express my gratitude for that? Lord, in a prayer, I thank you for the gifts that you gave me that money can't buy. And then once you thank God, maybe you want to turn to that person that's so important to you and say, I thank you too for being there for me, for being someone that loves me and that I can love in return. Because truly that is what God and his Son Christ preaches about more than money and more than anything else. And you've got that gift. Now is the time to look at it, to appreciate it, and to give thanks for that gift. In Jesus' name, amen.